Hello, everyone, and welcome back to Casting Seeds. I'm Savannah, your holistic health practitioner and host, and you're listening to the only holistic health podcast that uses God's singular truth to give you individualized discernment. Today's episode is something that Jeremiah and I have actually been talking about a lot lately because I get these same questions over and over and over and over and over and over again. It's basically the difference between cleansing the body and detoxing, but also genuinely understanding what your detoxification process is in your body. I've been pretty surprised lately at a lot of misinformation being spread about the liver and the spleen and just the organs in general. And I never have thought about it this way. And actually, I read it in a question post not too long ago about people not wanting to eat their placenta and not wanting to eat liver or any type of organ meats because they're full of toxins. I really don't know how to respond without kind of laughing, because technically in today's day and age, you could say the same thing about anything, I guess, at the end of the day. Like, there are people who don't want to eat fruits and vegetables because there's technically no way, unless you're growing it yourself and seeing, and even then, there's still lots of different ways for technically toxins, quote unquote toxins, to get in. But you basically would need to become a breatharian. And even then, there's air pollution. There's no way to avoid toxins 100% whatsoever. And that's why we have these organs in our bodies. So, and no, these organs don't store the toxins, they process them. Because like for the liver, for instance, you would get cirrhosis of the liver and die if it stored toxins. Your liver has over 50 different vital functions of detoxification on top of doing other things. And so it's just, it's really, you can tell who kind of jumps on the bandwagon when it comes to all things health versus people who genuinely do research. And it is, especially because I answer a lot of questions for free, I'm not going to lie, it can be really frustrating when someone asks a question and then you explain how to support their natural cleansing process at night, and then you get inundated with comments underneath of people being like, don't ever eat liver, don't ever eat blah blah blah, it's just feeding more toxins. And I am over it. So that's why I'm making an episode today about this. So I hope you guys are ready for this, because I feel like I'm rolling my eyes with my voice, but I am also physically rolling my eyes. But here's the thing. We all have to start somewhere, and there's no judgment in that. I think I just get frustrated when I do provide evidence for people and then they refuse to look at or read the evidence, especially when there is scientific data supporting it. And these are commonly known things amongst doctors, holistic practitioners, whomever, even just the common person who understands the body. So again, there's no hate on people who just genuinely don't understand. But my big thing is, even the things that I'm teaching you guys, I expect you to never trust me wholeheartedly, especially because who knows, new evidence could come out tomorrow that states the opposite of what I'm saying. But I never, ever, ever want you guys to ever trust anyone wholeheartedly with any subject, even if someone has a master's degree in it, even your own pastor, right? At the end of the day, if your pastor's teaching you something and you have just an inkling or conviction that maybe I don't 100% agree, go into the Bible, get into the word, get discernment from the Lord, and also do your own research. Same thing with healthcare. All right. So let's get started on that. Let's get started. And you guys can challenge me all you'd like. So let's start with how the body naturally detoxes. I just want to start, or actually, no, let's get the definition of what toxins are, okay? So a body toxin is any substance that can be harmful or disruptive to the body's normal functions when it accumulates or isn't properly processed, all right? So there are external toxins and internal toxins. External toxins are also called exotoxins. They're like pesticides, heavy metals, processed food alternatives, air pollution, cleaning products, cosmetics, anything around that. And internal toxins, also called endotoxins, are things like urea from protein breakdown, excess hormones, or byproducts of gut bacteria. So there are different types of toxins, and I feel like most people really focus on the external toxins and don't realize that there are internal toxins happening all the time through your mitochondrial process that are just as much, if not sometimes more important, to actually pay attention to, because that's how your body normally functions every day. So when the internal toxins are being over inundated because the external toxins are making it worse, right? Because even if you just eat, let's just say you had dinner. Jeremiah and I just had like a chicken and rice dinner. So the natural toxins that my body's going to produce into that waste, my body's going to be filtering that out tonight when I go to sleep. What happens is, if before I go to sleep, I also over inundate my body with harsh chemicals from my shampoo or conditioner. If I put in like a harsh air plug-in while I'm going to sleep, and then adding all these extra pollutions and toxins, what happens is that my liver, my spleen, let me think, there's a lot. My pancreas, my kidneys, my colon, my lungs, my skin, and even my lymphatic system can all get over inundated. So that's when they can't perform properly because the internal and external toxin overload is too much, and things then can get stored into our fat, into our muscles, and into our tissue. But not as often does it get stored into our organs. And that's because our bodies are smart. They understand that if we have toxins like in our liver, if our liver is over inundated with toxins and it can't function properly, that's when it gets sick. So with that being said, now understanding what a toxin is and understanding that there's two different kinds, but they still can work cohesively together to cause health body breakdowns, we're going to now look into the liver, the kidneys, the colon, the lungs, the skin, the lymphatic system, the spleen, and the pancreas, because I want you guys to understand, and again, even the gallbladder, but all of these things are mostly based in our gut. And all of these things are used to help filter and process and remove excess, right? This is what our body does naturally, and we want to support those things. So this is not talking about like an in-depth detox, also to kind of go over that. A cleanse versus a detox. A cleanse, okay, happens to your body every 24 hours. You go to sleep, your body cleanses everything that you did during the day. You wake up, you start a new day, you cleanse, wake up, start a day, go to bed, cleanse, and that's how it works. When you do a detox is when during your day and nighttime functions, you are changing lifestyle habits to filter things out more deeply out of your system. So I like to compare our body to a house quite often. If you think about, like doing dishes, vacuuming, some things you do weekly, some things you do daily. I don't know, wiping down the counters. I'm trying to think of the daily things that I do. Cleaning the toilet, like just those types of things. If I don't keep up with those things daily, my house is destroyed by the end of the week. And that's just within a 7-day time frame. Imagine if I didn't do it week after week after week. You guys would think I'd have a hoarder house. It would look horrible, right? So imagine that with your body. If you don't support your major detoxification systems, liver, kidneys, colon, lungs, skin, lymphatic system, spleen, and pancreas, and even your gallbladder. If you don't support these things in your daily diet and lifestyle and exercise or rest, whatever it is, your body is going to be overwhelmed internally and externally. So there are some people who don't realize that they have this like overwhelming, almost breaking down of a house. So a year passes and then they're like, oh my gosh, somebody's finally coming over. My house looks horrible. What do? I'm going to do a deep detox. I'm going to tell you right now, with your body being different than a house, imagine the mold that started eroding at the walls and breaking down the foundation. There's a water leak in the garage. Your house is falling apart. Doing a detox, cleaning all the clutter out is only going to do so much, right? Sometimes it gets past the point where you're like, I actually have to do a full reconstruction. And that's where more allopathic medicine has to come in, or surgeries, or, other things like that. And you have to reconstruct a little bit. And sometimes the house is never the same. Sometimes the house ends up being 1,000 times better than how it started, but it costs a lot of money to get there. And it's the same thing with your health. The point of holistic health is for you to do daily healthy routines that keep it where when you finally do a detox, you're going to look around and be like, wow, actually my house is pretty spick and span. But you know what I haven't been able to do in a long time is actually strip the deck and repaint it. It's just not looking too good compared to everything else. It's not functioning as great. I've been saving money, and let's do it. Let's strip it. And then you have the energy to do it. Because you're able to keep up on the little stuff in the house, it's not a big deal. You're able to knock it out in a day, 2 days, 3 days. It's easy. But someone who decides to strip the deck when their house is falling apart, they're going to feel overwhelmed. They're not going to be able to financially do well. Those are the people who start projects and then fail halfway through and say, I don't understand. I was trying to do a detox. I hope this is making sense to you guys. I often, when clients come in and see me, I'm dealing with, hopefully, not so much like the full over inundated home people, but that is quite often. I tend to get the people who are halfway there. I'd say like 80% of my clients are the halfway clients. They know that there's things wrong. They don't know where to start. They can feel that so many of their systems are overwhelmed. And the first thing I ask most of my clients are, how's your liver? And they look at me dumbfounded and confused. But I'm like, how's your liver? Do you ever check it? Have you ever looked at it? I guess before we get into this, because it's really easy to locate your liver and find out if it's even sore, I would love you guys to do an exercise with me. If you can, wherever you are, sitting up or laying down. Sometimes it's more comfortable to do it if you lay down, but I want you to lay down flat on your back or sit up. I want you to look at your rib cage. Okay, you're going to put both of your palms up towards the ceiling. If you're crisscross applesauce, just kind of lay your hands down flat and then put your hands palm up facing the ceiling. Now put them down onto your rib cage. Okay, if they're on top of your rib cage, you can hear me moving right here. I want you on your right side, okay, to take that hand and slowly hook underneath that rib cage. And when you're hooking underneath the rib cage, don't go towards your head. I want you to vector your fingers towards the outside, like almost like you're coming back out to your arm. So you're going to hook under, and you can even do a breath if you want to. You can do a deep inhale in through your nose and push with those fingertips while you inhale. You can feel that expand. And then as you exhale out through your mouth, sink your fingers in deeply and just hook into that area. That area is your liver, and then right next to it is your gallbladder. If anything in that area feels sore or almost makes you kind of want to vomit, feels really uncomfortable to touch in any way, you have liver problems. And I don't mean problems like you can't fix it necessarily. I mean, I don't know. I'm not with you. But if your liver is sensitive and upset, you need to support it. You need to start supporting it. That is step number one. And I'm going to tell you, when Jeremiah and I found out we both had candida, starting from me, the reason why I was able to lose weight so quickly once we started the candida cleanse and diet, like the intense detox for over 6 months, was because I had been supporting my liver, my gallbladder, all these things for years before that. So finally, when we found the actual true diagnosis that was causing my miscarriages, man, it's like my body was like, thank you. We've been preparing for so long. And everything flushed out super quickly. Like It was insane. Within a month, we already had amazing results. So, and that's because my body felt ready. But a lot of people, what they do is they're like, yeah, I've never cleansed my liver ever. I've never done a deep detox. And I'll ask them, I'll be like, okay, well then what's your daily diet like? Well, I was drinking really hard last weekend. I'm like, nope. You got to start supporting your liver for at least 3 to 4 months before you can even consider doing a detox of the liver. Give that body part that you want to detox a bunch of support, a bunch of nutrients so it can prepare for the big flush, right? It's just like as a runner, you don't dive into the Boston Marathon without first training. I mean, you got to slowly start going for walks every day, then jogs, then runs, and then they become longer and longer. That's what you need to do to start preparing each organ for a deep detox. So I know I keep saying I'm going to get into the organs, but I feel like I have to do those breakdowns for people to really understand and get some body awareness as to really the difference between cleansing nightly, supporting your own body every night versus doing a really in-depth, intense detox. And people are sold on things on social media. I see it in the questions that I get all the time in that toxin-free living group. When I have clients come into my office, when I have clients online, when I do podcast interviews with other people on their shows, it's the same. And I find it annoying questions over and over again because that people just heard a thing from a friend or saw some dumb influencer that doesn't even have any type of medical background, and they just want to try it. So they're like, which is the best detox for worms or for bacteria or yeast? And I'm like, yeah. And that's the other thing too. There's no such thing as one detox or one cleanse fitting everybody. Your health history is so important, and knowing your medical background, I mean, you can't just do a general thing. That's why so many people have asked me like, what did you do for candida? And I'm like, I don't want to tell people because what I did was personalized for me and my body, and what was best for Jeremiah also was different. So if people want to know that, they can work with someone like me individually. But if someone just gives you a general protocol and doesn't tailor it to you, run from them. They don't care about your health. They don't care about you getting better. They care about making money off of you. So that's my, that's my spiel on that. But let's get into the detox systems and, just kind of the body in general. So you guys can actually start to understand what your body does for you and then learn to support it. Okay. So the liver, this is the star of the detox team. I love the liver and its system and process because it breaks down toxins, medications, hormones. It prepares all of the waste in your body to be extracted and then sends it to those places. So anything bad that could ever go through your body at any point in time, the liver will see it. That's why supporting your liver is so important. And that's why that's like step one for me for when I'm talking to clients. I love the liver. Kidneys are next. They're the homeboys. They filter your blood and remove waste via your urine, right? So it helps balance fluids and electrolytes in your body. The salts, they help revamp your mitochondria. We love the kidneys. That's why you can't survive without a liver. You can't survive without kidneys. They are necessary in your body. Having one kidney is okay, but it's not great, right? So supporting your liver and kidney function is so vital and so important. And the standard American diet, the SAD diet, literally destroys them. Next is the colon. So the colon removes solid waste and bacteria, and sometimes yeast, but more so bacteria. And it's the regular elimination for your detox, right? So the solid waste is better known as poop. When all of that stuff that your body doesn't need goes through your body, it becomes poop, and you should be doing that at least once a day. But the best, if you guys should listen to the poop episode that I have about what is your poop telling you. Yeah, that's a really, really good episode. But you can learn a lot about your digestive system, your waste, and about what your body is telling you. Same with your urine, by the smell, the look, the texture. Your body is talking to you constantly. So I 10 out of 10 recommend listening to my older episodes on that. Next is the lungs. They expel carbon dioxide, right? And they help regulate your pH levels in the body, which is kind of cool. I don't think a lot of people know that. So when you inhale in through your nose, you're inhaling oxygen, but when you exhale, it's carbon dioxide, which actually does help feed plants and helps regulate the air in general. But that's why having plants in your home is actually helping feed you, and you help feed the plants just through natural breath. Skin also, the lymphatic system is attached to this, but skin through sweating, it helps excrete waste and regulate your body temperature. So when you sweat, this is why people get clogged pores. They also get zits and all sorts of things because your skin naturally detoxes for you. This is also why your armpits can get stinky, because you have glands there that excrete extra sweat. And if your bacteria is over inundated, if your sweat is over inundated with yeast or bacteria, it's going to be extra stinky. So again, your body's talking to you when things don't smell right. And if you have to cover yourself up with a lot of perfumes and extra toxins just to feel normal and regulated, it means that your gut microbiome, your liver, your kidneys, your gallbladder, all of these things, your colon is over inundated. And it means that it's stressed and it needs support to be able to detox more properly. Next is the lymphatic system. So the lymphatic system transports lymph fluid, which carries waste away from tissue and supports immune function. So when I do alignment work on my clients in my office and I help break down the scar tissue, or if, let's say someone's had a really horrible diet their whole lives, and then we release an area and then the toxins in that area come out, the lymph carries it, which can actually make people vomit sometimes. But the lymph carries it to the liver and the kidneys and helps your body process it out of your system. So your muscles and your fat are actually more known for holding toxins than your organs, because your organs can't hold them because they have to function to remove them. Does that make sense? So your muscles are known for, being built on whatever you eat. And if you eat crap constantly, if you put crap constantly on your body, if you don't allow your body to flush properly, the crap is going to be stored in your muscles and in your tissue. So, and that's what also a lot of fat holds, which I know people don't like to hear, but it's true. You are what you eat. You are made of what you eat. But you're not just your lungs, but your organs are going to try to stay as clean as possible, and because they know that they have to stay clean to properly function. And then when you see people with cirrhosis of the liver, that's when you see people with more yellow skin and eyes, and you can tell they're sick. There's something wrong with them. That's because their body, again, is so inundated with toxins and chemicals and all the, synthetic chemicals that their body literally can't keep up to be able to support their flushing system. Okay. I also want to talk about the spleen because it's a part of the lymphatic and immune system. So the spleen filters the blood and it removes old damaged red blood cells and stores the white blood cells and platelets, and that's what plays a huge role in fighting infection. So when it's functioning well, it helps ensure that your blood is clean and your immune system is ready to respond to toxins or invaders. So even though it's not known as a detox system, it helps support it immensely. And so same with the pancreas and the gallbladder. Both of them aren't really labeled as detox organs, but because they both produce different types of enzymes to break down food, like fats and proteins and other nutrients, they also help absorb a lot of nutrients and then help separate waste elimination. The pancreas specifically also helps regulate blood sugar, which indirectly supports detox because of the high blood sugar can stress out the liver and lead to inflammation. So if digestion is sluggish, toxins can linger longer in the body than they should. So a healthy pancreas can help keep things moving along. So you can see, and then same with the gallbladder. The gallbladder helps with digestive enzymes to help break down food faster and be able to, and smaller, so that it can get through your body more efficiently. So the knowing and understanding how your body actually works in the processes and why they do what they do, then helps you be able to support those functions, right? With different vitamins and minerals, which I don't know if do we have time in this episode? Maybe we do, maybe we don't. I don't know. But maybe I can do a whole other episode that just talks about like different things. But I will just say in general, if you want to support all of these things, the best thing that you can do is understand a well-rounded, clean diet. Okay. And whatever well-rounded, clean diet is best suited for you as an individual. There is no cure-all diet. There's no diet that it worked really well for my friend and she's doing really well. Great, good for her. She figured out her diet. Diet, what your diet is what you are currently eating. It's not what you've removed. It's not what you need to remove. Your diet is what you're eating right now. So the question you need to ask yourself is, does my diet support my life? Does my diet support my overall goals in the future? Does my diet right now, the one that I am on, does it make me feel good? Do I feel alert? Do I feel sluggish during the day? Do I feel like I can keep up with my kids? Does it help support me with any type of reproductive issues? Do I feel like I am hormonally balanced? Do I want to make love to my husband or to my wife? Do I feel, I don't know. There's so many different things that you can ask yourself about your diet. But ultimately, yes, the elimination method is wonderful. It does help people figure out what feels good and what doesn't feel good. The only thing that can be exhausting with that is a lot of people at the end of the day notice that, yeah, I mean, I feel really good when I cut out wheat, dairy, and sugar and carbohydrates. Well, yeah, no duh, especially if they're the main parts of your diet, because fibrous vegetables and fruit and protein, that's the most clean diet you can have. But that's also not a sustainable diet where, if you want to go out with friends and go have a burger, you should be able to do that without your whole body freaking out. So this is what I normally recommend. If you came to me as a client, I would say 100%. If you want to really reset your gut and make sure that you can detox properly and feel really good, and if you have the money to do so without seeing a GI doctor, or you can do it through a GI doctor if your insurance covers, I recommend getting a gut microbiome test. 100%. You do some stool samples, you send it in, you find out all the bacteria that you have, all the yeast that you have, and all the parasites that you have, which, by the way, you have to have all three to have a balanced gut. But an overgrowth or an undergrowth of any of these, and or if different variants, because there are some bacteria that are bad you don't want, like E. coli and other things like that, you need to know what's going on with your gut microbiome. And yes, a couple, even like 50 or 60 years ago, these types of things were not necessary, or even 100 years ago or 300. Would they have probably saved lives for some people? Yes. That's not even a question. But now we have the science that we can use with allopathic medicine, that we can look and see what is actually going on with our gut. And if you genuinely do look into it, you can then take the prebiotics and probiotics and heal your body properly and figure out like, okay, so now that my gut is balanced, I'm going to eat really clean for a while, just kind of help reset it and strengthen it. And then now every once in a while, the 80-20 rule, 80% living healthy, 20% doing whatever you want. I can now have that 20% and not feel guilty and not feel horrible. My body's looking great. I'm feeling great. And that supports, in general, your day health, right? Your organs that work during the day, and your night health. But the biggest thing you need to understand is the standard American diet, the SAD diet, does not support your day health or your night health. So if you are stuck in a rut where you feel like you're feeling like crap over and over again, and mentally you're like, but I still crave that sugar. I still crave. Okay. Well, it's time to take a step back and figure out what feels better to you. Staying in that rut, which is doing something over and over again, is literally the definition of insanity. Or you're going to take a step back and be humbled and realize, if I want to hang out with my grandkids someday, I need to stop eating like this or drinking like this, right? Our food can literally be an addiction in our life, and our drink. Just ask any alcoholic, any person who's addicted to drugs, and sugar is a part of that process. Your body is literally designed to crave and want that instant high from sugar. So this isn't an episode 2 to be harsh. I want to be clear that this is how deeply it's ingrained, and doing just like a little cleanse. Some of us are so far down that rabbit hole that doing a cleanse is not going to help, like a nightly cleanse or doing one big detox or 2. And you can't do detoxes back to back. Like that's like you do one of those once a year. That's a lot for your body to have to process. So to support in general, go get that test. And then also, eat clean, cut everything out for a little while. That means high fibrous foods, low carb foods, low sugar foods, high protein foods, okay? And proper hydration as well. And sometimes you do need to take extra support. Like when I was detoxing for my candida, I took magnesium glycinate at night right before bed. I also helped support my liver with dandelion root and milk thistle. I used tinctures and that felt amazing. So yeah, there are herbs and supplements to help support those things. But ultimately, I think maybe we can just do a whole episode on that separately. I really want to hammer in what if you just need to start with daily cleansing and like supporting your daily cleanse, or if you really are ready for a detox, because I'm going to tell you, get ready to be humbled. I think that 98% of you are not ready for a detox personally. When people come to me and like we're having conversations online or in person, all these people are like, I'm ready for the detox. And then I question them on their lifestyle and their habits and finances, and nope, most of you are not. And I felt that way too for a long time. And I had to be humbled and take a step back and be like, whoa, I really have to prep my body for this. And I did. And I'm so glad I did, because I got the results I wanted in such a short amount of time. And God was so good, so good. Like I felt like he was like, yeah, thank you for listening to how I created your body. Let's go. So that's that. Okay, moving on, because I promise I do want to give some sort of encouragement also at the end of this. I want to give just kind of like a general census of ways that you can just like support your body if you really want to support that nightly cleanse, okay? Lemon water and apple cider vinegar in the morning is actually a great way to kind of finish off the cleansing process that you did. If you did that in the morning or at night before bed, you just don't want to do too much because you don't want to make yourself pee a lot at night. Dry brushing helps with lymphatic flow, and a good genuine red light therapy is also great, which I think next week I'm going to be coming out with an episode on red light therapy, which I'm really excited about because there's a lot of scams out there. So a little plug for next week. I know a lot of people love Epsom salt baths as well. I personally don't feel a huge difference, but I think that's more for people who tend to sweat more and tend to really flush through their skin and lymph. So if you're that person, then an Epsom salt bath may be really good for you. The one thing that everyone needs, that I feel like I've hammered this entire episode, is obviously nourishing foods, but especially bitter greens and bitters, because it's not a part of most people's diets. Bitter herbs, things that you don't like to eat, but you should all the time. And guess what? Starting off your meal with dark greens with bitter herbs and then ending it that way is one of the best ways for your body to be able to break down your food. And also it lowers your glucose levels too. Oh, also, the next one, rest, rest. You have to rest. May it be a biblical word put into your life. Rest. There's a reason why even God rested on the seventh day. Does God need rest? No. Does he love it? Yes. Does he say we need it? Abso-freaking-lutely. To the point where even like, what was it? Was Babylon? Because the Jews, weren't they put into, I need to look this up because I'm going to embarrass myself. Okay, here it is. It's Leviticus 26. If Israel disobeys the Torah and does not allow the land to rest, they will be punished by God, including being sent to exile. So that's what it was. Didn't God punish Israel for 70 years in Babylon? Is that what I was thinking of? Yeah. Okay. 70 sabbatical years. Woohoo. Okay. I thought I was going crazy for a minute. But also, I mean, of course, there's a part of their unfaithfulness as well. But when I say that rest is important, I mean, if you don't get proper sleep at night, your liver and all of the functions that your body works at night to be able to process, like, and cleanse your body, it can't happen properly and it doesn't fully happen. So getting proper rest is really, really, really important. And that also means like a full day of rest too, like not just sleeping, but resting your body, letting your body decompress. You don't have to go for an intense workout 7 days a week. And it's actually been proven that just walking and keeping movement daily, even light movement, is just as much needed. You don't have to, if anything, that's actually more needed than going for an intense workout 5 days a week. Again, of course, it depends on your lifestyle and your goals, but necessary versus a want or a goal are two very different things. So I just want to make that very clear. And I also want to make it clear too that how you take care of your body is a form of worship and stewardship, right? If you think about your body and all the different functions in it and how God made you in his image as an image bearer, and you decide, you know what, I just don't care. That's wild. Tell me how that's biblical in any way, shape, or form. You can't go and serve others if your body can't move or function properly. You have to constantly just be served and loved on. And the point of being a Christian is not just to be served, but to serve others, right? Through the gospel, through God's love, through yourself. I mean, your body is supposed to be a living sacrifice, just as Jesus was on the cross. Obviously not for everybody's sins, which, by the way, happy post-resurrection day, everybody. But mostly for his, not mostly, I mean, 100% for his glory. And if you cannot do anything because you're so self-absorbed and self-wrapped up in only your health, you can't love on people or help them. And you know what too? I just talked to my friend Katie, which if you guys have not seen that episode of me interviewing Katie in her book, Unparalyzed, please go listen to that episode if you want to see me cry uncontrollably. But Katie was in a car accident and is paralyzed from, I think the beginning of it from the neck down. And I don't want to spoil it because her book is amazing and it's very inexpensive. I don't even think it's $12 on Amazon, but her book Unparalyzed proves that even somebody who can barely move can still push through and share the gospel. At her lowest point of life, she still is serving the Lord. And she doesn't make excuses. Even when she's not feeling good, she knows that God can still use her, but she still also knows when to rest and when to be poured into. I actually just prayed that over her today, that there would be a season of people just loving on her and pouring into her because all she does is pour into others. So I just want to make that clear that your body is a part of your stewardship. And if you think about even how so many martyrs have come forward for the Lord and suffered and been tortured, and their bodies have been used as a torture device, and they still were worshiping God through that entire situation. I mean, one of them was even filleted alive, I think. People were dipped in oil. Was it Peter who was crucified upside down because he said that was it Peter? But he said that he didn't want to be crucified in the same way as the Lord. He just felt it disrespectful that he would be upside down if God was right side up. So anyway, I want to make that clear. Also, just to tying it into more of like a faith-based background, Scripture itself is about renewal, right? It's about purification, it's about healing, and ultimately in the kingdom come, not necessarily here, but in the new kingdom come, heaven and new earth. Our bodies are being used here as a testimony for the Lord. So if you want to talk about truly honoring the Lord, it's about understanding, well, then how do I use this tool that God gave me? This is the tool that I have right now. How do I use this? Even if I'm like Saul who became Paul, even if I have the stomach ailment for the rest of my life and God made it clear nothing will ever make it better, how can I still be used by him? And how do I not dwell and just sit in it and make my whole life about this? I know people who are ex-cancer, they're cancer survivors, and their whole identity is not being a cancer survivor. My whole identity is not that I've, had candida or I had miscarriages. That's a huge part of like a growth thing that I went through with the Lord and with my body. But my identity through that entire thing was always Christ and Christ alone. And it should be yours as well. It doesn't mean I did it perfectly, but that's what I mean. That's what sanctification is. And also it's probably good to think about if you want to think about spiritual detoxing in a way, which sounds kind of dumb now that I'm saying it out loud. But if I feel like a spiritual detox is personally like repentance, right? And we should be doing that daily as well. Or I like to do it at night before bed, just telling God, like, I'm so sorry for the bitterness in my heart. I'm so sorry for the offense of sin that I did for X, Y, and Z. Repenting is that detoxification from the day. And it's not like you get resaved each day. That's not how it works. But it's taking things and giving it to the Lord. That's why he died on the cross. That was the whole point. And I mean, when I think about it, like when I think about creation itself, like in humans, the whole point of creation was to, I can't tell you why God made us or why he made the world to begin with, but I can tell you it was done with love, wholeheartedly, 1000%. You can see God's love all throughout creation, and just the purposefulness of even the chamomile plant. Like it does so much for us, and it's such a strong, beautiful herb. And there's a reason why it's called the mother plant. It's so loving towards us, but we had a creator who thought of that and created this one little plant who would help millions and generations of people all throughout time. But if you think of the world is covered in those types of plants and animals and things that can help us. So yeah. Also to Isaiah 1:16, I think of when it says to wash and make yourselves clean. Of course, I think of that in the repentant sense, but also I think of that in understanding our plan and purpose that God has ordained us to do, which is to share the gospel. And that means you want to present yourself, not as a holier than thou person, but present yourself as like, this is who I was, and this is who God's molding me to be every day in Christ. And how can I love you and lead you in any way, shape, or form? How can I help do that, whether it's from afar or close in your life? Or even 2 Corinthians 7:1, I think is, let us purify ourselves from everything that contaminates the body and spirit. I mean, the body and spirit right then and there. So I want to make it clear that, of course, there are really practical things in this episode where I want you guys to take a step back and recognize, like, whoa, God made my body with an innate plan and purpose to be able to self-cleanse and, self-recognize. And I can't believe my organs can do all these things and I have to support them. I have to do whatever. But I want you to take a step back this week and really ask yourself, like, okay, how much do I do to actually support myself in a healthy way, whether it be spiritually or physically or both? So you can't do anything without your body detoxing properly. But before it can even detox, it has to cleanse properly. Before you can run, you got to walk, right? The same way that I wouldn't give a new Christian, I wouldn't be like, here's the whole Bible, good luck, and just walk away. No, I'm going to meet with them weekly or offer to get coffee or go through a book with them and explain things and help them if they need it and talk about God and his intention, right? So I just think that there are really practical ways to go about things when you think about holistic health and holistic health in general. And I mean, you just got to get to know yourself and your body and not find it shameful or be embarrassed of where you're at. The same way that God meets you right where you're at when you're, I mean, I hate, not even when you're first saved, every day. He meets me where I'm at. And he probably looks at me and goes, you silly little Savannah. And, but I pray that most of the days he's looking down at me and saying like, I'm proud of you. Well done, good and faithful servant. So I pray this episode was helpful. I pray that it made sense in a physical and a spiritual way. But ultimately, I want you guys to know that I want to dispel the confusion and silliness that sometimes one person's opinion can just take hold. And I want you guys to do the research. I want you to look into verses. If you believe a certain thing, you better find verses to back it up. If you believe a certain thing about your body, you better find studies, third-party studies to back that up. Yeah, I think my rant's over. I hope you guys have a beautiful and blessed week. I always feel like after Easter, this is the real, or Resurrection Day, the Holy Week. I feel like this is like the true reset of the year for me, where I'm like, okay, this is like, let's do this. So I pray that you guys are getting into the word daily, that you're praying daily, and that you're spending great fellowship with awesome believers daily. I pray you're sharing the gospel daily, and that you understand the difference between a cleanse and a detox. I love you guys, and I can't wait for next week's episode. Hopefully, if you have any questions, you can email, text, or message me on Instagram and Facebook. Until then, as always, keep casting seeds. We hope you enjoyed learning how to cultivate God's creation from a biblical perspective. Holistic health is to prioritize whole person wellness through Christ. Like and comment on what topics we're casting seeds or casting pearls.
If you found this information provided useful, subscribe to our podcast for future updates, leave a review to help us improve, and share this episode. We would like to remind you before we leave that perfect health cannot be attained in this world.
Only spiritual salvation through sanctification and repentance to God and turning away from sin will give you a perfect body in the kingdom come. Nourish yourself in the word, in prayer, and in biblical fellowship daily.
Thank you for joining us today, and a special thank you to our listeners for making this podcast possible.
Always praying.
Keep casting seeds.